Yeah, hey. Never mind. I was gonna tell you this joke about time travel, but you didn't like it. Oh, hi there! I'd like to take you all back roughly a year ago. I was living in Florida in an RV, and I made a whole video basically complaining about the costumes of Little Women. To me, it just looks really messy. Which were designed by Jacqueline Duran. Now, my present day self is offering this video, hoping it makes some atonement for that one. Atonement is a 2008 movie about two sisters. Who cares? I didn't pay much attention to the storyline. I was too busy being enamored by the costumes. I loved this one, and this one. I want a shirt like that. Oh, I kind of hate this. But by far, my favorite costume from that movie is this green dress. I mean, this is probably every costume buff's favorite green moment in any movie ever. Name a more iconic green moment in a movie. I dare you. The Incredible Hulk. Shut up. Now, without further ado, let's head to the sewing room. Welcome to my sewing room. Here's the way my sewing room currently looks. Now let's get out of fabric.
It's time for a little game. Which of these fabrics would work for this dress? Is it this one? This one? How about this one? Great job, everyone! Your eyeballs deserve a high five for being so good at functioning. Now, draping the pattern for the top of this dress was a sporadic endeavor that I embarked upon in the middle of the night one night last month while I still lived with my dad. After tracing the pattern, I pretty much set it aside and forgot about it until I was inspired by a class from this week's sponsor.
I don't know what to do. I think it wants out. Oh, hi there. It's time for a word from our sponsors, Skillshare. I get questions from you guys all the time, like, how do you thread a sewing machine? How do you use a sewing machine? How do you actually sew? And if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm never actually going to teach you. Skillshare, on the other hand, will answer all those questions and more. Skillshare is an online learning community for curious and creative people. Are you a curious person? Guess what's in this box? I'm never going to tell you. And if that drives you nuts, you're a curious person. Skillshare is for you. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions. Skillshare offers thousands of classes. I mean, you name it, they have a class on it. Animation, video editing, photography, creative writing, and even how to work a sewing machine. So you can finally learn to sew. Or maybe you don't actually want to learn to sew, you just want to learn to design and sketch. They offer fashion sketching classes. Or maybe you just want to buy clothes that other people have made and model them in bomb Instagram pics. They offer Instagram classes. But maybe you don't even want to do that because you're a lazy, unmotivated potato. They also offer self-improvement classes. I personally have really enjoyed this class called Productivity for Creatives. I feel like it really busted the myth that artists have to wait for creativity to strike and teaches you to control your creativity and make it strike. I think I can honestly say that you wouldn't be watching this video right now if I hadn't taken that class. Also, I love that it was taught by Thomas Frank because I love when someone has a first name that could be a last name and a last name that could be a first name. It just tickles me. Skillshare is specifically curated for learning and they have no desire to waste any of your valuable time. So unlike my videos, there are no ads, meaning you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And they're always launching new premium classes. With an annual subscription, Skillshare will cost you less than $10 a month. Cha-ching! But the first 1,000 of my subscribers to follow the link in my description will get a free trial membership, so you can fully explore your creativity and make it work for you. Also, following my links lets sponsors know that you like me, and if I can keep getting sponsors, then I can get a hot tub.
When you open up your triangle, it should look like a big half circle. You can make just one or cut out two if you want it to be lined. Cut a straight line down the top middle as long as a teenaged guinea pig. For the straps, cut out two strips that are as wide as 2 fingers and as long as a French baguette. If you don't have a French baguette for reference, well, use your photographic memory and reference one that you've seen before. Question, is photographic memory something you just have to be born with, or can it develop? Although it's kind of funny, photograph, develop? You're too young. Flip your strap right side out and then iron it down till it's as flat as planet Earth. And now before we continue with this design, I'm going to show you some of the other things you can do with these pieces of fabric. Ah yes, what a delectable waste of time. Now this next move I'm about to pull is going to make me look like a real seamstress. I'm going to enact something called forethought. Pin your straps to the top of the front half of your bodice and then pin the other half of your bodice on top of it, right sides together, then sew all along the edges. Once you flip it right side out, the straps will appear to be emerging neatly and seamlessly. Just like magic, but not the kind that will doom you for all eternity to...
I've got a problem. I don't like how this lays, how it drapes. It's just too thick because of the 2 layers. So it's gonna need some tender loving TLC as ASAP as possible. And how I'm gonna do that is cut the bottom layer off with the exception of like a 2-inch strip around the seam. But I don't want that 2-inch strip to fray. And I don't want to add bulkiness by hemming it under. So I'm going to burn it.
I had bought the last of this fabric, 5 yards, from a store in Arizona, so there was no room for error. So deciding whether or not to burn it was a difficult decision. Luckily though, I used to be super indecisive, but now I'm... well...
Since doing that, I am a lot happier with how it drapes, but I held it up to myself in the mirror and I really wasn't getting
Keira Knightly vibes.
which is definitely a problem, but I feel like that's easily fixable. I just need to think more British. And the first step in thinking more British is to fully recognize the differences between British people and American people. And luckily, that's something that I've studied in depth. In fact, I'm willing to share it with all of you. So here it is, the biggest differences between the British and the Americans. In the mornings, Americans like to drink coffee, whereas the British usually opt for tea. In England, they discard their garbage in something called a waste bin. But in the US, we impale our trash on something called a trash spear. Americans call football football, whereas the British call football football. I've also heard those cheeky Brits call flying mice bats. The Yanks and Brits do have one thing in common though. After their morning coffee or tea, both settle down for something called a siesta. Sources say that 75% of Brits keep a doily in their back pocket, and 95% of Americans always have expired yogurt in their fridge. And finally, the English are excellent tap dancers, while Americans tend to smell more like cheese. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss the differences between Australians and humans. Well, so what if I don't know what Armageddon means? It's not the end of the world. No, I can't look it up. I don't have a dictionary. I just have a thesaurus, and I swear it's the worst thesaurus in the world. Not only is it terrible, it's terrible. Oh, hi! How's about we get started on that skirt?
Step 1 of making our fabulously flowy skirt was taking inventory of how much fabric we had left.
So it's time to actually cut out the skirt, and I'm terrified, but I'm just gonna have to make like a flying mouse and wing it. I think we probably need to make a mock-up. Enter $1 a yard fabric from Walmart.
I cut out a piece of the cheap white fabric to be exactly the length of the green fabric that I had left. Cut out this general size and shape, but if you need a guide, go ahead and go to a church, ask if you can borrow their church bell, and then trace that. But if you have metallophobia, you can just lay down on the fabric and have a friend trace you, but make sure the bottom flares out a little bit more than the top. To further aid in fullness and flowiness, cut as many slits as you'd like in the front and back panels of your skirt. Then turn some of your scraps into triangles and insert them in those slits.
I need to make a consistent pattern for all of these little triangles, so I'm gonna need a different, stiffer fabric to make that out of. Yes.
This adding triangles trick is so fun. You can use it to add volume to short skirts, long skirts, probably pants. Just don't do it to Bermuda shorts because then people would disappear every time they pass you. You'd have Bermuda triangles. But the best part is that it uses up your scraps and reduces waste, which is awesome because fabric is really hard to put on a trash spear.
So I lost my scissors. Don't know where. So I go back to my dad's house to get some more scissors, but there's a train just blocking the way. And it's super long. There's no way around it, right? So now I'm at Joann's.
Oh look, we're still on the triangles. Okay, fun fact about triangles. You know those Toblerone chocolates? Do you know why they're shaped like triangles? So that they'll fit in the box that's shaped like a triangle.
Okay, this would be a pointless creative liberty, but how cool would it be if in the middle of every triangle I cut a slit and added another triangle? I'm just gonna do it to one. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with it, and I wish I had enough fabric to do this on every single one. Word of wisdom, don't leave your pin cushions on the ground. Oh, don't you hate when things don't look as impressive as they should?
Now to make that cozy hip scarf. I again made a mock-up with some cheap fabric and then traced the shape. Mine was approximately the size and shape of a Little Caesars hot and ready pizza box. But that's because I was only using it in the front and not wrapping it around the back like hers, and you know how she did that crazy zigzag thing? Yeah, I didn't do that because fortunately I didn't have enough fabric. After pinching, hand sewing, and ironing down your elephant-sized bow tie, you'll want to pin it down along the edges of the front half of your skirt. Then sew it along the edges. Next, if you're prone to booty coldness or just wary of shocking others, you're going to want to add the back of your skirt. Do this by sewing it to the front of your skirt, right sides facing each other, but before you do that, you might want to try it on and mark exactly where you should sew, just in case the church bell you traced wasn't exactly accurate to your waist size. Now for the zipper. I decided to hand sew mine, and I mostly did that in my sunroom that I forgot to ever tell you I had when I did a house tour. While sewing this zipper, a middle-aged bald man knocked on my door. I opened it and he said, "I need to use the restroom." He quickly walked past me and, though he had never been to my house before, seemed to know exactly where the bathroom was. After he used it, he left almost immediately. It was my uncle, but it was still strange. Now to make that long hanging, I don't know, what would you call something in the middle of a bell that like makes it ding that hangs? Is that called a uvula? Cause it should be. I cut out a strip of fabric as long as 2 tennis rackets and as wide as 2 Rubik's Cubes. Folded it in half long ways, sewed it along the edge, flipped it right side out, and ironed it down. I looped the top couple of inches over the middle of my hip scarf, then pinched it and...
Now it's hymn time. I like to sing a hymn a day.
Then I took care of the other hem, aka the bottom of the skirt. Lastly, to get the draping of the top exactly how I wanted, which in keeping with the theme of the dress sort of flared out at the bottom in a triangular shape, I simply tried on the top with the skirt and pinned it where I felt it should go. And in case you were wondering, the ends of the straps were sewed to either side of the top of the zipper.
All done. Oh crap, I forgot I have feet. I paint these in my basement. I didn't show you my basement in the house tour. It's just so freaking cool. I didn't want anyone else to be jealous. Literally, it's like... Now to make ourselves look like Keira Knightly. I don't know why I say our. We are not going to. I swear, I don't suffer from insanity. I actually enjoy it quite a bit. I'm Keira Knightly, sort of. I think I look kind of like her, but I posted this same look to my Instagram story a couple months ago, and I was like, guess who you think I am? And a lot of people said Natalie Portman, so basically correct. Now it's time to do the hair. Oh, I love this half and half look, yes. I'm Keira Knightly. I'm Keira Knightly and I can read time. It's 2:14. Does that mean anything to you? I'm still Keira Knightly. If I mentioned I'm Keira Knightly.
Now, aside from that gorgeously perplexing back, you may have noticed the other thing I omitted from this dress was the laser cut detail around the neck. And I'd like to request that you pretend to believe I didn't do that for historical accuracy purposes and not because I had no idea how to do that. Now, if you were just dying to see what this dress looks like with blonde hair, consider yourself revived. Don't worry, we're almost done here. Now, please enjoy this heavily worthless skit entitled Keira Knightly talking about her previous jobs.
I'm awful at jobs. Absolutely awful. Yes, one time I was an electrician and they were shocked by how bad I was. Literally shocked. Yes, I was quite upset when they fired me from the calendar factory. All I did was take one day off. Nobody likes April 15th anyways. Yes, but when I was fired from my job as a set designer, I left without making a scene. But anyways, that's why now I'm an actress. Before you go, big announcement. I just can't remember what. That's not it. No, nothing rings a bell.